My name is Michael, and I died on March 14th, 2019. I know it sounds strange to begin my story this way, but it is the purest truth I can tell. I had been a cardiologist for 23 years, respected in the community, married, father of 2 children. I considered myself a good Christian. I went to church every Sunday, read the Bible occasionally, prayed before meals. I thought I was doing everything right, but I was deeply mistaken. That Thursday, I was performing a routine surgery when I felt a sharp pain in my chest. Ironic, isn't it? A cardiologist having a massive heart attack. I remember looking at my team and trying to say something, but the words wouldn't come out. My vision began to darken at the edges, as if someone were drawing curtains around me. The last sound I heard was the heart monitor beeping wildly and someone shouting my name. Then silence. But it wasn't complete silence. It was more as if the sound of the physical world had been replaced by something else. Suddenly, I was floating above the operating table, looking down, seeing my own body. My team worked frantically, doing chest compressions, preparing the defibrillator. It was surreal to watch. I tried to shout, "I'm up here!" But no one could hear me. I had no voice anymore, no body. Then I noticed a light beside me. It wasn't like sunlight or a lamp. It was alive, pulsating, full of love. And within that light, I began to see a tunnel forming. I didn't feel fear. I felt an inexplicable pull, as if my whole being was being called home after a long journey. I began to move through that tunnel, and the speed was beyond description. It wasn't physical, it was spiritual. When I came out of the tunnel, I was in a place I can only describe as heaven. But it wasn't like I had imagined. There were no fluffy clouds or people playing harps. It was a place of impossible colors, sounds that were feelings, and a presence that filled everything. And then he stood before me. Jesus. I knew who he was without needing to ask. Not because of the images I had seen in paintings or films. His eyes contained the entire history of the universe. And at the same time, they looked at me as if I were the only person that mattered. His love was so intense it made me fall to my knees. Not physical knees, since I had no body there, but my very essence bowed before him. "Michael," he said, and his voice resounded through my entire being. "You asked to know the truth. Are you prepared to see it?" I didn't remember making that request, but at the same time I knew I had. For years, somewhere deep in my soul, I had longed to understand if I was truly living as I should. "Lord," I managed to say, "I always tried to be a good Christian. I went to church, I prayed. I tried to be a good person." He smiled, but there was sadness in that smile. "Yes, Michael. And that is exactly the mistake I want to show you. The number one mistake that almost all of my children make. Suddenly, scenes from my life began to unfold before me. But they weren't random. They all had a common theme. I saw myself in church, singing praises, but my mind was at work. I saw myself praying before dinner, mechanical and empty words repeated out of habit. I saw myself reading the Bible quickly before bed, just to check the mental box of task completed. "Do you see, Michael?" Jesus asked gently. "You turned our relationship into a list of religious duties. You treated me like a demanding boss who needs to be appeased, not like a father who longs for intimacy with you." His words pierced like a sword, but without pain. It was pure truth. "The number one mistake," Jesus continued, "is that my children think Christianity is about doing things for me, when in reality, it is about being with me. They confuse religion with relationship. They think that going to church, saying quick prayers, reading a few verses, and avoiding obvious sins is all I need from them." He showed me more scenes. I saw millions of people around the world. Good people. People who considered themselves Christians. But they were all trapped in the same snare I had been. They treated God like an eternal insurance policy. They knew about Jesus, but they didn't know Jesus. "Michael, you gave me your Sundays, but not your heart. You gave me your words, but not your attention. You gave me your outward obedience, but not your intimacy. You lived as if I were an obligation, not a treasure." Tears that weren't physical began to flow. How had I been so blind? I had spent decades considering myself a dedicated Christian, but I had missed the very point of it all.